Yes, in the interview with Rock Bottom, Jeremy and Brendan from Monster Truck. Hello.
Hello.
You started yesterday in Munich. You started Munich yesterday. It was the first gig.
Mm-hmm. First German gig.
First German gig,
yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So how were the impressions of this concert?
Fantastic.
Yeah, really good.
Almost exactly what we expected. In that, the first bunch of shows that we did in Scandinavia were great, but every time we always come to Germany, they're always a little bit more excited, a little bit more energetic, and it makes for a little bit better show.
And do the fans knowing your material? Are they familiar with your material? Do they react on you, or is it still uncharted territory?
It's not uncharted, but there's a lot of the number of people that would know the songs and be engaged by knowing the record are so small in comparison to the number of new people that we're playing for that you're not going to notice them in a crowd of 10,000. Maybe we've got 200 or 300 fans in the crowd, and one here, one there, and it's hard to tell. But that's not really the name of the game for this tour is really just making new fans and getting to those people that have never seen us before.
Yeah.
So it's uncharted territory for the most part.
Until now, but it will change very soon.
Hopefully,
that's the idea.
And how do the fans react on the new album? Are there some songs that are very catchy and very straightforward, or is it no difference?
Yeah, I think we tried to make it very similar to the last one, and I think the songs that are getting played in the set are those ones that are pretty catchy and straightforward. We're just giving them more of what Monster Truck is, and we're still getting the word out. There's still new people seeing us every night, so we want to play those songs that we think are the catchiest, best songs.
Yeah.
And it's great that we have a mix of both the old album and the new, carrying on in the same way, I think.
Mm-hmm. My favorites are Why Are You Not Rockin', Don't Tell Me How to Live, and Black Forest. Is it just my impression?
I mean, first, the Don't Tell Me How to Live and Why You're Not Rocking are always very strong songs in the set, and just as an album release, people are very excited about those songs. And then Black Forest is a little different because it depends on whether or not you're the kind of rock fan that likes to be taken down a notch.
Yeah.
Some people don't. Some people just want to go crazy the whole CD, and so they don't recognize that one as much. But for those people who do like those more lower dynamic songs, it's always a favorite for them.
And Sittin' Heavy is a very strong album without any fillers. So what's up here with your working process? How do you create the songs? Is it the whole band that works on the songs, or is it just one main songwriter? I just have the MP3s. I don't know the credits.
Yeah.
No, right.
No, we the songs start maybe with one or two people working, but it always ends up coming together with the group, and we go through very many stages of kind of from conception to kind of arrangement to finally polishing the last little kind of screw turns that happen when you're in the actual recording process. And it's very collaborative, and everyone adds in their own kind of opinions and ideas, and they'll come together at the end.
We do an extensive demoing process. We usually record, even if it's just on the phone, the day, whatever we've done that day, we record. We built a little studio where we recorded a lot of Sittin' Heavy, and so now when we've been back home, we've been using that studio and recording every day and taking the recordings home and listening at home, and it gives you fresh ideas for when you come back the next day. Let's try this, let's try that, and then record it again and do that over and over. So it's a very collaborative process and with extensive demoing. So that's kind of how we've been working lately. So.
Yes, and the album has got a very joyful and powerful atmosphere. So does this atmosphere represent the feeling in the band while recording and generally?
That's kind of an extension of where we just started with the band, but very early on. The idea for the group was to be kind of unapologetically loud, rock, and kind of basic. Something that we could really play in the beginning inebriated to people who are inebriated, and create an atmosphere that's fun and loud and addictive, so that you want to keep coming back. And so since the band kind of started from those really fun roots and from a very kind of simple place, and a lot of our success came from that, we kind of have tried to at least stick to that mandate for the most part, where we try and still keep it fun. We still try and keep it simple. We still try and keep it loud, and not lose kind of the direction that kind of brought us to where we are in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and yeah, does the song title "Don't Tell Me How to Live" reflects the band's attitude? Is it your feeling?
I think there's a lot of tongue in cheek in some of this stuff. You know, people tend to hear a title like that or lyrics like that and take them very literally, which is great because you know we're not even here to tell you what to make of the music or the songs or the lyrics. It is a very broad kind of idea where if you want to take a tongue in cheek or kind of half-hearted joking approach to the lyrics, you can. If you want to take them very seriously and use it as kind of an anthem for your own life, so to kind of support you in whatever it is you're going through, we love that as well because, you know, it just depends on your mood at the time. You know, you can really legitimately take a lot of the, especially the songs that are about kind of overcoming obstacles and kind of trying to work through stuff. We recognize there's a lot of people out there that use music as a way to kind of be a therapy to those ideas, and we're happy to be a part of that too.
Mm-hmm. And your lyrics, where do you find the ideas for the lyrics generally? Is it?
You're asking the wrong guys.
Yeah, John writes it, and he holds it pretty close. He doesn't. Anytime we've offered to help him, he doesn't really take that invitation ever. So. It's his kind of thing.
No.
So we just have to live with them, even if we don't agree with what they're saying. But that, on the most part, he's pretty good writer. I quite like what he comes up with.
He's very hard on himself too. So there's a lot of times that he'll write something that we're very happy with, and then he'll completely destroy it and start over. What are you doing? But yeah, he takes it to heart, and he thinks about it a lot. And you know, as for "Don't Tell Me How to Live," that was just something he was saying to his girlfriend when she was trying to question him about why he was playing guitar and smoking a joint at 11 in the morning. You know, and he says, you know, this is my job. Don't tell me how to live.
But I guess
I'm working.
She's not the girlfriend anymore.
Oh, she is.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. They have a baby. Yes. The baby was on tour with us a few days ago. She's still around.
Okay. So, and how do you see the development? Yeah, the first album, Curiosity, to the next one, to the newest album, Sitting Heavy, is a step forward, or how would you see it?
One step forward.
Yep.
Instead of 5 steps sideways. You know, sometimes bands become too hard on themselves and become too distasteful with their own. With their older recordings, based on the fact they have to play them every night over and over and over and over, and they get to a point where they really don't even like their own songs anymore, and then they feel like they have to take a completely different approach for the next album. And sometimes I'm sure there's, you know, everyone in our band feels like that at least at some point. It's hard not to get kind of stuck in a rut sometimes, but I think it's more important for us to stick to the ideas that kept us kind of, that got us out of the Hamilton bars and onto the, you know, the worldwide kind of scene, and it's easier to serve, to continue to serve the, you know, our fans as much as serving ourselves, and not get too caught up in trying to reinvent the wheel, and really just sticking to what, you know, got people excited about the band in the first place, and what got us excited about the music in the first place, which was just making it a, you know, fun rock and roll band.
I know personally, I like to consider the fact that every single time we're playing a show, there's people who are hearing us for the very first time. Yeah. So if you can get into that perspective, you don't feel as bad when you're playing that song for the 200th time this year.
Oh, yeah.
So I really just try to, that's what keeps me in check about playing the same songs. And, you know, it's a pretty fun thing to be up there on that stage. It's a nice gift that we have. So make the most of it and have fun. I think, yeah.
Don't resent your own music.
Yeah.
It's the thing that got you here in the first place.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was a hard task to get a record deal.
No.
Because many bands, even good bands, have problems to get a record deal.
They're trying too hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think people put the record deal on a pedestal, and we never cared about that. We started making our own recordings all along, just to give to
we
people.
know how easy it is to make a record and put it out to the world.
Yeah.
We did our first tour like that, you know, and granted, we didn't get as much publicity, we didn't get as much promotion. The record labels are really, really good at getting you in contact with the right people to help you in all facets, whether it's doing this interview or whether it's getting a magazine cover or getting a music video on a website.
Yeah.
And that's where, you know, they can help you if you already have helped yourself. And so, you know, starting to see a lot of the traction that we're getting now with being on Mascot over here has been really great. But the actual process of like making an album and getting it out into the world is never been easier. And it's something that I think a lot of artists should take into account when they're sitting there worrying about a record deal. I think they should worry about their songs.
Yeah.
And getting them recorded properly before anything else. I mean, you should make something that record labels go, holy shit, I wish we put that out, as opposed to, hey, can you take this, please?
Yeah.
Like that just doesn't. Nobody likes that guy. It doesn't matter how good your record are. If he's sitting there begging and pleading and trying to just go and play shows, make good music. If you make a great record and you have a great live show and you have a fan base of 200 or 300 in a place like Hamburg and Berlin, eventually somebody's gonna notice. You know, people are looking for talent. It's they're not looking for people who are begging.
Of course.
Yeah, I think a lot of kids or younger people put a lot of emphasis on getting a record deal or getting a manager, or getting an agent, because they think that everything's going to work out after that. We kind of learned in our old bands that just because you have those things doesn't mean your band's going to be successful. They'll help you, but unless you have the product, you're not going to get the results. And if you can't bring people out to your shows, and if you can't make your own,
they're not going to get it.
Then-
They're not going to get you a fan base.
first prove to yourself that you can do that, and if you can do those things, then maybe start looking.
Then they're
for
great.
those
Then they're a great asset from that point.
Yeah,
forward. And we saw it happen with us as soon as we signed to Dine Alone, and now with Mascot. It was something that I was glad we waited for, because we put ourselves in a position for them to really be able to help us, as opposed to, you know, forcing them to turn us into something that we aren't.
You're a Canadian band, and you have got a strong Southern rock influence. How does it come? What's the reason for that? Because normally I would think
That's all I listen to.
Canadian bands, they are more influenced by Rush or April Wine or some kind like that.
Fantastic bands that you're mentioning, I didn't listen to them when I was growing up. It didn't resonate with me. You know, it was partially because it didn't resonate with my father, so my father wasn't playing me Rush albums or April Wine records. He was playing me Led Zeppelin, he was playing me Deep Purple, Leonard Skinner. I was completely raised on American and British rock and roll music. And so when I started venturing out on my own and listening to other things, and maybe getting some of those bands like the Tragically Hip, which I'm sure you may not have even heard of before, they're bands that just didn't connect with me after I'd already been kind of raised on British and American rock and roll music. So it's a really easy formula for why that's the kind of music that I want to play. It's all I listened to growing up, and even after I went through my punk rock and metal and kind of a teenage years, I always ended up coming back to. I mean, if we're sitting on the bus, we're listening to Bad Company and Bob Seger and Grand Funk Railroad. We're not listening to, you know, Blue Rodeo or Rush or Tragically Hip, or there's a myriad of bands that are very, very specific to Canada and nowhere else. And it just never really, you know, like I said, although fantastic bands that we have a ton of respect for, especially a band like Rush, who made it okay to be from Canada worldwide. They're one of the first bands that really broke the walls down as far as being an acceptable place to be from for rock music. So there's always going to be a soft spot in our heart for an amazing band like that, but the music itself is not something that I readily resonated with me, and that's why I don't write, you know, 8-minute opuses with 14 parts. I like the good old rock and roll music.
So it's hard, you mentioned it, as a Canadian band, is it harder to achieve commercial success and being accepted, or is it now established now? How would you see
We
it?
haven't felt that, I don't think.
I feel like it's maybe, well, I mean, Canada is maybe easier, and then once you get a following and a success in Canada, you can use that to jump off into all these other territories. I mean, that's what we've done, and that feels like, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it makes sense, and
Put it this
you just
way.
go through the process of it.
More importantly, any of the kind of hurdles that we've had because we're from Canada have been a lot easier to overcome due to the fact that our government and everything that we have, all the infrastructure we have in our country is based around helping us out. And we've had a bunch of grants and a bunch of money that's come through various means of just kind of trying to support upcoming musicians, that I feel like it would be wrong to say that we're at a disadvantage, because any of those disadvantages have been overcome by the fact that we've had grant money support to be able to do this. Like our first German show ever was at the Reeperbahn. Would have been 3 years ago now?
Yeah, 3 or 4. Right?
So our ability to come do that was based on the fact that we got grant money, and we were able to do it not at a loss, not have to spend a ridiculous amount of money. There's systems in place that allow artists that are in our position who don't have that kind of assistance to come over here and expose the band. So for us, the only places we've had real struggles is in America. And I think that is not really as a reflection as much of being from Canada as it is from the fact that their radio structure and even their scenes are so fractured, because it's such a big place, and what they're listening to in New York isn't what they're listening to in LA, is not what they're listening to in Nashville. And it's you have to almost focus, if you want to get big in America, you almost have to focus only on America all year long. Mm-hmm. And we've seen such great promise and such great momentum swings over here in Europe that we just haven't had the ability to put the time and effort into it to make it into a viable market. And we're having such a good time over here that right now we can't see it doing anything else other than sitting here right now with you.
I mean, we still go to America. We spent 6 weeks there a few months ago, and there's plans to go back in the new year. It's something that you have to try, but at the same time, there's some American bands who just constantly tour America all year long, and that just, knowing what we know, that seems like the most horrible thing to do.
Because they are
drive yourself insane going the same places over and over again. But to be honest, that's what it takes to break America, I think.
And then those bands wonder why they're not big in Europe. You know, it's almost one or the other until you've been able to put out 4 records and do it all. And we're happy to be doing it the way we're doing it, because like I said, we love it over here.
Yeah. So your main focus is Europe, or how would you see it?
I'd say right now our main focus is Europe.
Yeah.
We've gotten a pretty good, we got enough of a following and a fan base in Canada that they're nice enough to wait for us. And they also, a lot of our fans are so awesome in Canada because they're excited that we're exposing the band in other places like Germany and Scandinavia and the UK. So, like I said, it's all just about what we've, we try here, try there, try here, and over here it just has gone really well. And we keep getting great tour offers, and we are able to come back and do our own shows, and it's just become something that's impossible to avoid. And over the next 6 months, we're going to keep at it.
Yeah, that sounds good. And you mentioned it before, but I asked this question again. Your musical influences, you named Bad Company and some other bands. How would you see it? Your musical influences for the band?
I mean, like Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, but we also like a lot of 90s stuff, like, Soundgarden, Rage Against the Machine, Nirvana.
Yeah.
Like, we grew up with listening to a lot of that stuff, and I personally think that our sound is a mix of that 70s hard rock with that 90s kind of grunge thing. There's a little bit of punk and metal stuff that comes from those days of our youth in the 90s of listening to that stuff. So you kind of mix all that together. A lot of people like to say we're a throwback act. There's those elements, but I don't think it's completely that,
Stoner pop.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what my idea is. 90s rock music, but I also recognized Black Sabbath in some parts.
For sure.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, the old Black Sabbath sound.
Yeah, it's unison bass and guitar that is really driving that kind of vibe. Is half the time I'm basically playing the same bass line on guitar, so it's just a very powerful kind of straight ahead approach, which has always resonated well with rock fans, and people have always been able to kind of latch onto those riffs because they're just so clear and audible, and they work great in an arena, they work great in a club. They're timeless in a way.
Yeah.
Yes, and what's your plans for the time after this tour? Do you write a new album, or will you go on with your other commitments? Or you told tour, or you have any plans for a further album?
we have We have a little bit of downtime, but we have a tour that we're not allowed to talk about yet.
We'll have another announcement coming up soon for the end of the year,
yeah.
and we'll have another announcement coming after that for the new year. And in addition to that, we're always writing. We usually have a rehearsal set up in the dressing room, but we showed up late today, so we weren't able to get it set up in time. But we're always working on everything all the time.
Yeah, that sounds good. Jeremy, is it your name? Your family name, is it from German origin?
Yeah.
Widerman or?
Widerman.
Widerman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You say it better than me.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure, but you're some kind of German.
Yeah. I don't. My father's side is Jewish, and it came across from Germany in the 40s, and moved to Canada. And so I believe not my father, but my father's brother was born in Germany, and then they immigrated to Canada. And I come here now that we've been coming here so much for the last couple of years. It is one of my favorite places, and sometimes I wonder if it's because of my bloodline or if it's just because you have great food and great beer. But probably a bit of both.
McDonald's is everywhere.
Yeah, you could say that. You could stand at the North Pole and say that.
Yeah, do you have further messages for your fans? Unasked questions to answer?
Just keep an eye on our website, ilovemonstertruck.com. We come to Germany as much as we come to anywhere else, and we're going to keep coming, and we'll be seeing you soon.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for this nice interview and great success with the newest album tour and your further projects.
Thank you.